Welcome to Inside the Islanders. I'm George Matthews. With me, the head coach of the Charlottetown Islanders, Jim Hulton. As we do this interview, the Islanders have played 24 games on the campaign. They are 11-10-3 in their first 24 starts. And, of course, as we take a look and do this interview, Jim, the last game you're not very happy with against the Acadie Bathurst Titan last Saturday evening. Your team jumps out to a 2-0 lead, eventually loses the game 3-2 over 60 minutes. But when you look at that game, after the game, you decided to have perhaps a little bit of a mini training camp this week to allow this club to refocus on the season.
Well, we did, and again, it's not a reaction just to one loss. I think this has been a culmination of our first 24 games, and I think it's safe to say that there's a level of frustration from the staff, the players, everybody included. All of us wish we had a little bit better record, so I just thought that I didn't like the fact that, in my opinion, that we got outworked in the last 40 minutes for sure against a young team that had played their third game in 3 days. So number one, I wanted to test our fitness level, which had been in the works anyways. We'd planned a mid-season fitness test, but I just thought our job as coaches is to create black and white situations and remove any gray areas. And I see hesitation in our game, and that's my fault. So I have to make sure that everybody is clear and on the same page system-wise. So I thought, what better way with a full week off than to start fresh in kind of a training camp environment.
Jimmy, your hockey club 6-1-1 when scoring first. The opening period of late you haven't been happy with.
No, I haven't. And again, this team's been a bit of an anomaly in a number of categories. It's not as easy as identifying one or two areas that's been a problem. I think inconsistency has plagued us in every single area, and the starts has been one of them. Ironically, we've started better in this weekend, but we didn't necessarily get the results. So I just think we're playing in spurts as opposed to playing complete efforts, and we have to continue to strive to play a full 60 minutes and address all of our areas. Right now, it seems that if we focus in on the start, we start good, but then we let off the pedal. We focus in on our power play, we get some results, but it doesn't result in a win because there's other areas that are sliding. So it's just a matter of, again, hitting a reset button, in my opinion, and getting all on the same page.
You talk about reset, or you talk about focus, Jim. Obviously your career has taken you to the National Hockey League, and the nugget in the NHL is ice time because of the money that can come from that. Here you've got a bunch of players 16 to 20 years of age. They represent an ownership group. They represent a city. They represent a province. I'm not sure at 16 to 20 they realize that, but as a head coach of this organization, this hockey club, how do you sort of get them to refocus and sort of be responsible for that responsibility?
Well, I think our jobs as leaders is no different than our education system with our teachers. You have to set an acceptable standard for all, and that has to be some collective goals, and I think you have to remind them we're teaching a lot more than just hockey. That's part of the reason a lot of us are involved here is because we love this age group, but it does have its challenges, and I think making them understand that this is a privilege and it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to play junior hockey, and especially in a wonderful community like Charlottetown with a lot of support in and around our town. But we have to treat it that way every day, and I think a lot of us fall into a rut, and that can be said for any walk of life. But to me, it's about establishing some minimum standards that we have to uphold and realize that there's a bit of a greater good than just a day-to-day practice or day-to-day game, and that takes time. I'm the new kid on the block. I've talked about that a lot, but I think every coach has some different standards. We're not deviating probably a lot from one coach to another, but there is differences, and I think we have to embrace that, and probably from my end, I have to be more clear on what those goals are.
We're 10 games short of the halfway point of the season at this particular point. Let's take a look at your hockey club. As we say, they're one game above 500 right now at 11-10-3. Goaltending-wise, I don't think you've got much of an issue there.
No, absolutely not. I think the backbone of our team and the one constant of our team has been quality goaltending. Mason, to me, has really rounded into the form that I'd heard a lot about, and obviously the reason he's a second-round draft pick and on the radar to play for Team Canada, hopefully at the World Juniors. He's been extremely good, done his job, which is to give us a chance to win every night. And then Welsh has been a tremendous surprise, I think, given the fact that he's a 16-year-old. A couple of shutouts already, very competitive in net, coming off a gold medal performance for the under-17, so in very good stead in the nets.
When you look at your blue line, game-wise, as far as experience is concerned here in the Q, you and I, we've done a previous interview, talked about that youth. But when you look at this blue line right now, Luke Deschênes along with Thompson, both +4s. You've got Weber +2. David Henley, another one of your top four as a starter, only a -1. So I guess when you look at those numbers, not all that bad. But what more do you need from your blue line?
Well, I think to steal the business expression, we're trending in the right direction there. I think the addition of Jonathan Duchesne not only solidified us, but it's made a big difference in Will Thompson. By getting Will back on his natural side, which is the right side, it's put a lot more vigor back into his game. I've seen a lot of positive signs out of Will Thompson in the last 5 games, which is great moving forward. I think Pierre-Olivier Joseph coming in again, another left shot, which might not seem like much to fans, but it's a difficult thing for young hockey players, especially defensemen, to play on their offside. So if they're left shot, to play on the right or vice versa. And I think Dexter Weber has been a wonderful guideline for PO. And we've only had just a brief glimpse of Pierre Oliver, but I think by adding those two in, it stabilized our defense. I think they've played a much more solid, simple, mistake-free game, and I like where we're heading. So I just like to see them continue to trend in that direction.
Scoring now is a bit of an issue for this hockey club right now. 15th in the league in scoring. Mitchell Balmas off to a great start, double digits in goals with 10. Oliver Cooper's played well as well. Brad Kennedy in the mix of those top 6. You look at the bottom 6, perhaps not as many goals as you would like, and you've got Chalapik and Goulet, who have at times played outstanding for you this year, but they almost have to be outstanding almost every night.
Well, I think when Daniel made Pittsburgh, we knew that there was going to be a bit of a void in the offense. Now, we were hoping that the committee would pick it up for it. But if you watch a lot of the junior teams or pro teams, the majority of your scoring is done by your top 6. And that's just the fact of life. And, I think our top 6 has been a little bit inconsistent, starting to round into form. You referred to Chalapik and Goulet. And there's a lot of pressure on those guys to perform on a nightly basis. And it hasn't kind of hit. Both of them have had slumps at different times. Oliver Cooper's a guy who started hot, went cold, and has picked it up again of late. Ballm was kind of in the same boat, and I think I look at Brad Kennedy as a guy who got out of the gate really good, slid a little bit, but I liked what I saw out of Brad this weekend. And the other obvious thing, and you and I have talked about it a few times, is the power play. Power play started extremely cold. Numbers-wise, is still low in the league, but I think we've scored a power play goal, if I'm not mistaken, I think in 4 of our last 5 games. So starting to see some positive light there. And the big point of emphasis this week in practice was to shoot the darn puck. We don't shoot the puck enough. Continually in games we're getting outshot, and it's not so much that we're giving up a ton, but we're just not shooting the puck enough. And it's pretty simple math. If you're not going to put the puck on net, you're not going to score.
And you're tired about Daniel Sprong and talking about Daniel Sprong not being here.
Well, I am a little bit. I'm thrilled for Daniel. I'm disappointed for our team and for our fans, but I think in junior hockey, your job is to get people to the next level, and the fact that Daniel's there. But we have to remember, Daniel's part of the Pittsburgh Penguins. He really hasn't been part of the Islanders since about the first week or two, so we have to stop thinking that there's a cavalry coming over the hill to help us and just be excited that one of our teammates is in the NHL, but move on without him. And I think what it does is it changes kind of the complexion, the identity of this team, and quite frankly, we're still in the midst of trying to grasp who we really are as a hockey team.
Now, of course, you've been part of management of junior hockey in the past as well. When it comes to the Q, when you get frustrated at this point of the season, there's only so much you can do. There's a bit of a trading window that takes place in the early part of December, but there is the opportunity for free agency, of course, as we've seen here, and as well dealing with 20-year-olds as well.
Well, it is. It's a bit of a unique situation, which maybe is good, especially for the gentlemen that have both roles, because it tempers your emotions sometimes. I think a lot of times the early season trades are made in haste, and those are never good things. But this allows you to really understand your team before the window of opportunity opens. And you talked about the availability of free agents. I think part of the reason we have such an influx of kids from Ontario is just that there's not a mechanism within our league to get players in. And we're in a situation now with a long-term injury to Cameron Kiley where we're going to have to look at bringing someone else in, and we're in an exploratory stage of whether that's a free agent from another province or whether that's one of our affiliates. So we're looking at all options at this point.
Just a final question, Jim. Up to that trading deadline at Christmas time, what are your expectations here for this Islanders club?
Well, I want to see us grasp an identity, and for me, I'd like it to be based on hard work, on increased physicality, and on resilience. I want teams to know every night that the Islanders are going to come to play for 60 minutes, and I don't think, honestly, from myself on down, we've done a good enough job of that. So I want to throw out any win-loss record, because obviously we set out every game to win, so it's not fair to say we're going to have 8 of 9 wins. I just want to see us start to play the game, quote-unquote, the right way. I want us to play hard, be very, very aggressive, and again, just leave everything on the table. And if we can do that, the wins and losses are going to take care of themselves.
Jim Hulton, what he would like for Christmas, a 60-minute effort all season long from his Islanders hockey club. Been watching Inside the Islanders.